All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Place at Home Coaches Corner. We're here today and we are doing an owner spotlight. We're here with Stacey and Bryan. They're from the Austin area. If you're more familiar with Texas, they're actually in Round Rock, but we're going to say Austin for everybody else's sake. I want to get started out with a few shout outs, though. A Place at Home, our founders are both in Portland and one is actually in Arkansas right now, which is a very big testament to how we run our franchises. They're boots on the ground with some of our owners, some of the original owners. And I think it's really cool that they're actually spending time with them and getting back into the mix of things. The other thing I want to talk about is California. We have a new owner that's there very close to LA, I think about 30 minutes out. And we just want to give a shout out to everybody that's taking care of our seniors, our owners, especially the first responders. I know it's a big job and it's a lot to take on. And we're so proud of everyone that's there doing the things that actually matter. So I don't know if Stacey and Bryan have anything to add to that. I'm sure.
Just brought tears to my eyes.
Well, I'll piggyback on the first thing you said. You know, one of the things that impressed us early on about A Place at Home was that the founders, right, Dustin and Jared, were still involved in day to day, and they care about the owners and they care about, you know, each individual franchise, and that says a lot to it because, you know, I know there are a lot of franchises out there of all kinds of businesses that you don't see that at all from, you know, the original founders. So that was invaluable to us in making the decision.
I know, Stacey, you have something to say. You grew up around seniors, and that's part of what makes you so special. I didn't even know it went back as far as maybe 3-4 years old. Yeah, and we want to really hear that. So I know when we talk about this and taking care of the elderly, like I say, I was raised by home care and by seniors, but I didn't start until I was 23. You were honestly raised by the industry. So let's talk about that and how it led you here.
So my mom, you know, I was 3, I'm the youngest of 3, and she did not plan on working yet. And a friend of hers, it was a really strange situation, but it was a nursing home. And a friend of hers that covered the switchboard was going on some kind of vacation and wanted my mom to cover. Why someone that didn't already work in the building, I don't know. I was 3, they didn't explain it. 25 plus years later, my mom was the bookkeeper after that for, 25 plus years. And I literally grew up in the building. Activities department, playing games, having fun, getting to know the seniors. I lost my grandparents all by the time I was 8. So they all became my grandparents and I never left.
I don't know this, Stacey. Do you have siblings? Was it just you?
Yeah. So I'm one of 3. I'm the youngest of 3. But they're much older. My sister is 16 years old and my brother was 11 years older. So
okay, so you were raised almost like an only child.
It was almost like I was the only one at that point. Yeah.
All right. Well, I was told that I should maybe not mention this, but so she's from Brooklyn, I think Coney Island, if you're not familiar. And I think there was a parade that you were in early on or some kind of big event. What was it?
So 1976. Yes, I'm aging myself. Bicentennial, there are pictures somewhere of me in a red, white, and blue dress at that nursing home's bicentennial parade.
So, do you remember anything about it, or is it just the pictures?
Not really. It's just the pictures.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. You know, you start there at 3, you've seen pictures, you know the history of how your mom ended up there. What is your first memory being there?
Probably a lot later when I started actually working there. I was probably, I want to say 13 or 14 and practically getting paid already, but 16 is more where I really remember. And we used to, so because it was Coney Island, for those that don't know, Coney Island is on the beach. So, one side of the building, you can just see the ocean, and we all picked out which rooms we were going to live in when we got to the right age, so that we would have the best views of the ocean. So that's like a huge memory. Certain residents are big memories. We talk about Peter all the time. Peter was 116 when he passed. Yes. The only thing wrong with him, and I say wrong as the only word popping in my head, but he was blind. That was it. Everything else, mentally, physically, he just was blind.
Well, that's probably why he lived to be to that age. There's probably something there that we should all take note of.
Yeah.
Well, She also used to tell me about how Peter used to keep himself occupied when people weren't around to talk to him.
Yeah.
Which that's the big lesson.
So the big lesson. So he had a string of beads that not like little tiny beads, but like more of a significant piece of whatever plastic. And he would count the beads on the string, literally like this, just to keep his mind going, and numbers in his head and whatever. And if you weren't sitting with him, you saw Peter and his beads. So
okay, so I'm gonna go back to you being raised like an only child. I am an only child, so I think when I got into the industry and I started going to these facilities, I was used to talking to adults, and they almost felt like my friends and the siblings that I never had. So I bet you that there's a correlation there.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I purposely, Matthew is our youngest. He's 15 now, but I've brought him with me. He's run activities in buildings when I still was working in buildings. I think a lot of that, and I've seen that also, I worked in a school for a little while. It teaches kids how to talk to adults at a young age. And I think that's super important, because as we grow up and in school and we're not doing those things, we never learn it. It's not something that's taught unless it's done at some place in an early age.
Well, it helps you to be able to blend in wherever you are.
Absolutely.
It's an important skill.
Yep.
And I remember now, I was 23. My favorite thing to do was I would get to know these seniors, and maybe you did the same thing. I would look at their habits. I would listen to what they had to say, and then I would try to guess their profession without them telling me, because I wanted to know what made them tick that way.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. You start super young. We see the pictures. You're 13. That's your first memory. What was your first job? What did you go to school for? And then how did you end up actually working in the industry?
So, I mean, I wound up just because I grew up in it. It just was a natural thing that, I grew up in the nursing home. I started work. My first job was the nursing home. That was my first paycheck. But I also in middle school, which for those that, New York, it's middle school. It's I don't know what it's called here. It's all different names everywhere. But like the 6th, 7th, 8th grade time, 8th grade, 9th grade, I was working also in a card store as like a, thing to do kind of. It was the bus stop where,
What's a card
store, like Hallmark kind of, but not.
Oh, okay.
Cards. Yeah. Sorry. It's like cards and gifts and, snacks and whatever. And I, at one point, was like opening the store myself, closing the store myself. Now, mind you, I was still only in 8th or 9th grade and doing that. But it always came back to the nursing home. So like after school, I would go to the store and then go to the nursing home after that. I covered the switchboard at one point in the nursing home, but it was all about the activities. That's where I mostly was.
All right, Hallmark, we have your next movie, and it's Stacey. You started there.
And then, so definitely the nursing home was, the first like important anything. And then my sister had a child that was born with hearing loss. So my first plan was to be a speech therapist because of that experience. She's 16 years older. My niece was, very close in age to me. So it was what I lived through. So I wanted to be a speech therapist, but I always came back to the seniors and always came back to the activities room, and wound up doing all of the, therapeutic recreation classes, but never got certified because I was busy doing it. I was
it definitely ties back to that. I mean, as we age, some of the natural things, or we go blind, we can't hear, so I feel like you definitely stepped into the role. Maybe it looked just a little bit differently than what you planned.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit more. We would love to do every year, but as we progress, you're still in, I would assume, Coney Island, Brooklyn.
So, I mean, we didn't move out of New York until like 12, 13 years ago. So that's where we were. Coney Island, Sheepshead Bay, that whole kind of connected area. Yes.
All right.
Actually,
because you're
today's the anniversary of us closing down our last house in Brooklyn. And
that's right.
Today was the day.
That's funny.
So we're just hitting 13 years.
Yep.
And so you guys are a couple owner. We have a few of those. Just really quickly, how did you meet?
Online. Online. So does anyone remember the AOL chat rooms? That sound familiar?
I do. .. connect.
So there's rooms that we used to frequent, and we met and wound up driving down the same street, like a street away from each other in the same direction. And we were like, let's just meet. And we met same day.
Wow.
And it was boom, boom. Yeah.
All right. Where was the first date? And then we're move on.
Where was the first date? What was the first date? That was
You were out on Long Island with
yeah. And there was a play. There was a song. Yeah. Something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a long time ago.
And now Stacey is the face of A Place at Home. I want to know, Brian, what was the first thing you remembered about her? Because I'm sure it correlates to what she does now and how she shows up.
Oh, it's just the energy, the eyes, she's always had a passion for life. And she puts it out there every single day.
All right, so let's go forward a little bit more. We decided we want to become a business owner. We moved to Austin. We probably worked in communities and know the area a little bit. Now we want to start our own business. What did it look like? The research? Why did you choose A Place at Home?
So I had no idea. I was working in buildings. I use the word buildings. I don't typically use the word facilities, but I mean facilities. So I was working in buildings. I did a memory care. I was in an independent, 8 managers in a couple of years, and siding falling off the building. And, we don't need to fix that. The seniors won't notice, and all that kind of stuff. And I came home one night and Brian said, "Hey, I found this franchise for sale. What do you think?" Literally, like me, a business owner, no way. Don't ask me to do math, like none of that. But A Place at Home meant something to me right away. And I said yes.
Okay, so
really,
Brian, I first want to hear how you heard about it. I don't think it was an existing territory.
It was a
Okay.
There was a territory here that got closed down during COVID.
Okay.
And so it needed to be reopened, but there was nothing established here. And, after I've been in so many businesses, I knew, for Stacey really to have an opportunity to shine and make the difference that she wanted to make, it wasn't going to be having other people tell her how to do things and not care, right? That we could do something better for sure.
Okay. So Stacey, he introduces it to you. You start to, and I know you have a strong personality. You do your own homework.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to tell you what to do. So
Absolutely.
Tell me about, that journey for you and how you landed with us.
So, there's over 70 home care agencies around here in our area. We needed, if we were going to do this, it needed to be a reason. It needed to be better than all the rest. And the first thing that I really loved about A Place at Home is right behind me, all 4 service lines. We're not a wing, bang, bam, and we're done. You need something else, go figure it out on your own. We take them through that journey from beginning to end, and we can be with them till the end of life, whether we're moving them into a building if need be, or working our way up to 24/7. The fact that we plant trees, that is like so huge in my heart when someone passes. It's something that we do before A Place at Home. Just all these little things that Jared and Dustin thought of that should have been happening everywhere. That's what you mean. Yeah.
So I was thinking about you today, Stacey, and I know a lot of us, maybe not everybody, has watched Suits. And if we all think about Donna when it comes to Suits, and I don't know if you remember the IT guy, but he creates a Donna. She's almost like an Alexa. When I think about you, I'm like, if we could just duplicate her over and over and over and have Stacey,
so funny.
We would make such a difference in seniors' lives. And I love that about you. It's so special.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, thank you. So let's go on to, you're passionate about being a resource for seniors. So I know, and sometimes as your coach, I get on to you. I'm like, Stacey, you're doing a little bit too much. You got to pull back a little bit. But that's what, is so special about you. Tell me about what you do to go above and beyond and some of the things you do for the seniors that you take care of.
Where should we start? So
can I tell the first story?
Yeah, go for it.
First story. A friend of ours was telling us about her dad, and they were not clients at this point. But
we didn't have clients at that point. We even had a client.
But she's telling us how her dad kept talking about the Model A that he built. He took 2 Model A Fords and he put them together. And this was back when he was in high school, and he's having some memory issues and stuff like that, but he always kept talking about that. Stacey went ahead, started making a whole bunch of emails, found someone local to them who was willing to come and bring his Model A Ford, which is beautiful, who also happened to be a veteran. Okay. And he brought his service dog with him. And this was right before Thanksgiving. And to tell you, I mean, the moment that sits with me every time I think about this is at the end of the ride, and he got to ride with his grandkids and experience that. He grabbed onto the wheel and didn't want to let go.
And as much as we're business owners, we're supposed to look at KPIs, the bottom line, all those things. If you do the right thing, the money comes. It does. And so I think you guys are such big picture. You're doing the things now. Doesn't mean that maybe you got like the fastest, the quickest, but you're doing the things to plant the seeds to be successful in the long run and create a legacy. And I love that.
One of my big inspirations and one of my past book, Be Like Amazon, is a lot about how Jeff Bezos grew his business. And a lot of people think Jeff Bezos is very, cookie cutter and very methodical. But he actually talks about sometimes you have to do faith-based initiatives for the value of long-term to do what's right for your customers. And we're very much into believing that if you just keep doing the right things for people, it comes back over the long term.
Absolutely.
Well, and if you do enough right, people talk about it. I mean, we all know someone's going to most likely leave a negative review, but if you shine the brightest and you do the right things, people are going to talk about it. They're going to be inspired and they're going to share your story. You don't even have to tell your story anymore. People are telling it for you. And I think that's actually what's happening in Austin. And I think that's so wonderful.
Yep.
And now let's step back a little bit. So I know Justin always says, what is his saying? The first year is chaos. The second year we create order. So I know we felt that a little bit too, because you had a different problem than most people. You had too many referrals, too many people calling, not enough manpower to be able to take care of everybody and everything. So I think we're going back a little bit and we're trying to create some of the processes and do the things that, aren't as fun. And so let's talk about that a little bit, Stacey, and what that feels like. And what growth.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had a tough time in the beginning, coming from the healthcare backgrounds, even just the files and the policies and I was like, what do you mean we don't need this? It's healthcare. I was worried about we were missing things. I still feel that way. I'm still going through the books. I'm still checking and making sure. I'm still all of that. And we did have that period where we couldn't, and I was covering shifts and blah, blah, blah. But now that we're putting things into better place, and thanks to you, Tiffany, it's feeling a lot better and I'm breathing, because I wasn't for a while. I was ready to fold it and I need to be done. And
300% growth in one quarter. I was talking to, one of my consulting friends. He said 100% growth is a lot for a company. 300% growth is insane to try to figure out how to handle.
Yep.
Well, and I think I got chills again, because as owners, we jump in first with what we're good at. So what you were good at was the passion, the heart, the knowledge.
Right.
And so you went full fledged. It made you feel great. You're doing your Stacey thing. But then all of a sudden the other things catch up. So now we got to go a little bit backwards, and we have to do the things that aren't as comfortable, that do make a difference. Just initially it doesn't feel as if it's going to, or if it is. And so I think it's so amazing though, Stacey's got a very strong personality, much like myself, much like her husband. That's why we all really get along. So I think it takes a lot for us to sit back and actually listen. But when we do, we learn that, okay, the things that we're going to put in place are going to make tomorrow better.
Exactly.
And I'm so proud of you that you're doing it.
Thank you.
Yep. So you're huge in the community, and I don't think it just goes into the senior sector now. I think you're doing blogs, you're getting to be known by families. You've done nationally syndicated podcasts and stuff, and it's been so refreshing to watch. I love reading them too, because I can listen and hear your voice when I'm reading them. So tell us a little bit about, if you're a new owner, the things you would start with. If you're new in the community, you've never done senior care, or maybe you have, but you've not done home care itself, what would be the first step you would take?
So the thing that I love about what we did in the beginning was we didn't necessarily worry about the clients coming in. Worry about the clients, yes, not worry about them coming in. Again, there's over 70 here. We needed to, who are we? Why should we trust you? Who are you in this business? And that's what all that is. That's why I'm doing the blog. That's why I have this resource guide that's not just a list of phone numbers. I vet all of them. I know all of these companies. It's other home cares even. There's enough for all of us to go around. It's why I do the syndicated articles. It's why I'm on the PAP, Facebook group. It's why people need to know who we are and why they should go with us. The fact that we have the 4 service lines. I mean, there's so many pieces that make us stand out that we need to tell people about. And that's what I think the difference is.
So you're sharing your knowledge. You're openly sharing
Absolutely.
everything that you've learned growing up.
Yep.
And none of us grew up, starting at 3 in a senior facility. So you have so much more knowledge than we could ever imagine having, and you're openly sharing it. You're connecting dots. You're even sharing it with competition. I think that is so amazing.
Absolutely.
And that shows heart, and that shows you want to make an impact, and it goes further than just your territory there.
Yep. Our first client came from another home care agency.
So tell us about that. Tell us about your first client.
First client, love Chris. So
you can't say names, we know that, but
okay. So I was walking around in the grocery store actually, and I got a phone call from another home care owner, and he said, I know you take 2-hour shifts. I don't. I have a client. Are you interested? Literally in the middle of the grocery store. I was like, oh my God, first client. Yes, let's go. He was 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. Caregiver was driving like 30, 40 minutes every single day for a 2-hour shift, quit her full-time job to do this because it's where her heart is. He is a professor, he's just a typical normal person that fell while he was out running and busted up his knees, was with us just for, healing time and all of that. Loved her so much and what she was doing that he kept extending and stayed longer and longer and longer, months at a time, months longer. And then we had a graduation party for him. And they still keep in touch, which is, I think, adorable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and more importantly, that caregiver now is working with us in the office full time, which was one of our big goals is how can we take, our team members and, mentor them and train them and give them new opportunities within our organization. So yeah, it's come full circle.
And that's a perfect transition because I wanted to actually hit on this. I know that you guys have a really good hiring process and we're perfecting it and we're actually putting some things in place to make it even more robust. But tell me, Stacey, because you've, started in the facility yourself, you then became an activities coordinator, you've seen caregivers too. What makes a caregiver special? What makes them unique? What is the thing you look for when you're trying to hire someone that's going to make a difference if it were your mom you were taking care of?
First thing is always the heart, and I'll always come back to that. I have a couple of mottos. One is for a senior to have a smile on their face every day, and caregivers have to have hearts. If you don't know how to make a bed, I can teach you, but I can't teach you to have that heart. This is not a job. If you're looking for something that, you just want to be a warm body in a house, you're not for a place at home. You have to want to be there. You have to want to care. You have to all of that. And if that's not there, then sorry, we're not the right place for you. So that's always going to be first.
Let's talk about your orientation process. You're now doing it in person, correct?
Yes. Back to it.
So I know a lot of us during COVID, or I wasn't an owner, but I remember, coaching some of my owners, things kind of changed and it was a little bit different, but I think we're slowly transitioning back. And I do agree in person does make a difference. Sometimes we have to, do what we need to do to get them onboarded. But tell me about what you're doing in person. And I know you guys are very big on your why, your impact, what you believe in. Tell me how you're bringing that into your orientation process.
It's the first thing we do. We talk about, Brian does the interviews and he will talk about some of that first, during those interviews. I have nothing to do with the interviews. But orientation is our time to pound that in a little bit more, go over it again. We have Shonda give her why. We have all the caregivers. We go around the room and we start with that. That's the first thing we do. My whole thing, everything I write, every letter I write, whether it's to caregivers, to clients, it's always welcome to the APAH family. I hate home care only because, we're a family and we never see each other. We all work in a different place. So what kind of family is that? Hi, nice to see your cousin Mo, but, see you in another year. I hate that. So I want them to know that they're part of this family, that if they have an emergency, not related to work, and they need somebody in the middle of the night, my phone's on and they can call me, and they know that, and they do it. Don't highly recommend it, but they do it.
Okay, so you want to know her number? It's just
there you go. So that's definitely a huge part of orientation, and then we'll go into the nitty gritty stuff. But they know that we're part of they're part of our family now.
And I think that's so important. So I think we have a bigger impact than what we realize. And this isn't about me, it's about you. But I will tell this story. I think it was a year or two ago, and I sold my business 8 years ago. I was in a Starbucks. I hear somebody yell my name and come and literally smack me. I'm like, well, what is happening? I mean, I love Starbucks. Usually I get hit in the face when I take my caffeine, but not that fast, not that hard. And I look back and I recognize her, and she was one of my caregivers, and she just graduated from nursing school. And what she tells me is, you were so young, you ran this office, you invested in me, you showed me what a strong woman looked like, and you empowered me to want to do more in life. And you're the reason why I just graduated. And I can't tell you, like, I get chills when I tell it to this day. But I had no idea the impact I was making back then. I had no idea, 8 years later, she was going to come up and say that. So the things that we do, how we show up for them, even when we don't realize it's impacting them, it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we talk about that a lot too in orientation. I have the growth potential flyer on the table. They can all look at it. I'm all about, if you want to be a caregiver for the rest of your life, awesome. I love that. But also, if you want to do something hybrid and do a little bit of everything, I love that too. If you want to move up, if you want to become an owner, let me help you do it. And I tell them that all the time. I'm all about growth and education and learning and moving up and whatever.
Well, let's talk about your first hire then. How she's helping you, how you're training her, and what this is.
So yeah, she was our first. Like I said, she had quit her full-time job just to work 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. Put all her faith in. When she starts her why, she usually says, I am her why. She just had all kinds of faith in me and in this company and what we believe in and what we're going to do. And she's been a rock star. She had 2 clients, by the time she came into the office that we recovered. And she'll still go and fill in and cover shifts here and there as needed, which I'm still doing also. But I mean, she's a rock star and she's just banging it out. So
she is amazing. And I know she, when I'm on coaching calls with you guys and she's there, I can see the way she looks at you and how much she believes in you. And she's your biggest fan. It's so amazing. Other than Brian. And then I come third, but we're all huge fans. I want to talk about, so we just started shadowing. So we're kind of changing our onboarding process. We're doing some things differently. And I think handoffs have become a big thing. And I know we do that every time and that is so huge. And I didn't do that as an owner. I'm almost jealous that I didn't think about it 8 years ago. Although I called, I did the handoff, I introduced them. It's such a personal touch. But now we're even going further. So now we're shadowing. And when we talk to our clients and we say, hey, we go above and beyond in our training, they're not witnessing it because they're a part of the training. So let's talk about what this is looking like in the business and the difference it's making.
Absolutely. So, I use the word, I'm going to train you and send you on a shadow shift, but of course they're not getting trained necessarily because they're CNAs, some of them, or, seasoned. I like to bring it in as it's the tips and tricks. We're going to pay you to go be on a shift with another caregiver. You're going to get paid for it. And you're going to just see what Mr. Jones needs and what he prefers and, all that kind of stuff. I need to know that if my current caregiver has an emergency, calls out, what have you, that I have someone that's ready to go and seasoned and knows that client and that family and they're comfortable. And I will still go do that warm handoff. I will still show up because they might not remember them 100%. But, oh yeah, I did see that person once before. But yeah, warm handoffs and shadows have been really, really great. And the clients and the families are all open to it. And, great that, you're training them and you're teaching them and they have the backup. So it's been huge.
And one of the other very valuable pieces, and we talked about it even during orientation today, is, because hopefully they'll be doing shifts where people are shadowing them in the near future, right? As we continue to grow, that, they get to see, they're the eyes and ears of the clients, but they also get to be the eyes and ears for us, for those new caregivers, right? They get to see how they interact. What time did they show up? How did they come across? How well did they communicate? And those things are invaluable because we can't be necessarily there on every shift with every client, right? But an experienced caregiver who knows what we value will give us that feedback, and they have already, which is just kind of awesome.
Well, and then they're reinforcing Stacey is who she says she is. We're, ingraining the value, our spirit, the why behind it. And not only that, Stacey hit on, so we're very siloed when it comes to being in home care, and we're alone. So now we're building a family. They're getting to know the caregivers.
Exactly.
So we're building a community. And so when we do events now, or we do the holiday party or whatever it is, they know each other. They've seen each other. They met each other.
Absolutely.
And so I think it also solves another problem that you just spoke about, is that we're all alone. But now we know each other. So
I've had a few of them, even in like orientations, I don't initiate, but they'll say, hey, can I have your number so we can chat about whatever, or go be friends and go get coffee. Like I've actually heard them already doing that. So,
well, and here's the thing. So I've been a part of a few franchise systems, one that I owned, one that I consulted in, and now I'm a full-time coach here. A system that keeps people apart is a system that's broken. So when you're open and you're willing and you're letting people talk, it means that you're bringing value. You're proud. They're proud. You're going to say the good things about you. And there's no reason why we shouldn't allow the communication between them. So
absolutely.
I think that's key.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, even to the extent where we've had people who know us who also work like in other agencies refer their family members to come work for us.
Yep.
Let's talk about that. So, we have hiring in different areas, and I know hiring during COVID got super hard. I was kind of thankful at the time that I didn't own an agency, because if I would have been able to solve the problem, I'd probably be a billionaire right now. That's how difficult it got. Things are kind of transitioning now. I know in some places it's harder than others, but let's talk about how you're finding your caregivers. I know that we have a really good funnel, and I don't think it's just your area. I think it's how you're posting. And I know Brian's probably behind that. So we'll let him speak 100%. On it a little bit, and the kind of talent that it's getting, because it's rendering really good caregivers and CNAs more exceptional than what I've seen in other areas.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we're really happy. The funny thing is, the hiring part was the part that I had the biggest fear of going in, because as Stacey said, there's 70 plus agencies. How many good caregivers are we going to find? And I was definitely worried about that from day one, and started doing some of our recruiting, and it was going reasonably well. Obviously, we found Shonda, for example, early on. And then I attended a local chamber event where they had a SCORE mentor talk about retaining and recruiting talent, and took a couple of extra tips from there. And all of a sudden the funnel went through the roof. We just did a much better job at kind of positioning what the job looked like on a day-to-day basis, always telling the story. It always came back to our story and our why, focused in on, what the kinds of people we're looking for. And really amplifying that, we're looking for people with particular passions around this, not, we use the term growth oriented a lot, that they want something more. They don't want to just fill in hours. And that seems to have helped a tremendous amount.
All right, so let's go back to job postings, because I know if there's any home care owners listening in outside of a place at home or a part of our system, we all spend a lot on recruiting our job postings. We're constantly trying to redo it. You've actually created one that works, that we use every week, I think. and you're so willing to share, you're so open about it. Anybody that wants to connect with you, what would you say is the secret sauce? And when I ask that, I mean, like, what does it say? Give me a few of the words that you use. Is it that you put Stacey into the job posting?
Yeah, a little bit of Stacey being in it, but this comes back to my background in marketing and advertising. My mentor is an advertising genius, especially for small business. In the last few years in the home services industry, he's talked about recruiting, and the key to this is like every job listing is not just, oh, here's what you get to do. This is the job. This is the pay rate. Blah blah blah. We actually are telling stories. We are actually trying to really get them to understand why we're different from the very first ad to that very first interview. And again, we'll tell more of the story there. It's a progression of telling that story, but by the time they come to orientation, they've been so ingrained. They're seeing the evidence of this story all over the place. I also tell them to go ahead and Google us, right? Like, go cyberstalk us, go check out our social media, go look for my name, go look for Stacey's name, go watch our videos. Like, what you see is what you get. And, a lot of them are frustrated by the fact that, owners are absent. They can't talk to managers. And we talk about some of that frustration because Stacey's lived those frustrations, right? And so when you can relate to them as real people, I think their aspiration is to find somebody who understands. And I think we come off that we really do understand.
So I always say hiring is like dating. So the job post is like your dating profile. So you're trying to, allure somebody, you're trying to get them to buy in. So you get them to buy in. And then the interview is almost like the first date. So you're getting to know them. You're letting them know a little bit about you. You're trying to get them to the second date if you like them. So now we get to the second date. And we're talking orientation. So we're opening up a little bit. We're telling our why. We want them to come back. And then week 1 and 2, 3 and 4, as a scheduler or the owner, if it's just you should be dating then. And when I say that, that means if you were trying to date somebody, you really liked them, date 1, date 2, what are you going to do to keep them engaged? How are you going to keep them going? How are we going to touch base with them? And so I really look at it as dating. Then you put them on a client. But if you put them on a client and you stop talking to them and you stop nurturing them, the relationship fades. And then if you want to put a ring on it, you really take it next level. And like you said, you let them grow within the company. You take them next level. You get the commitment from them, but you also commit to them.
Exactly.
But we also, at orientation, we have them fill out the All About Me form.
Love this.
This is how I also keep that dating going, because I will pop into clients' houses once in a while, scheduling permitted, obviously. But if I'm going to bring, a sweet treat or something for a client, I'm going to bring it for the caregiver also. So I get to know what they like, their allergies, etc. That's how I keep dating them. I go visit them. I pop in. They know that they can come to the office and pick up some snacks. Call me, make sure I'm here. But like, I'm here. Like we start building that relationship right away. Absolutely.
And then when you have that relationship, you can also have the hard conversations, because we've all worked for somebody. We've also, as owners, know that sometimes we get in a lull. We've had a hard day. We're tired. We didn't sleep well. So we need somebody to come in and say, hey, Tiffany or Stacey or Brian, you're not really being your best today. And I didn't really like the way that you spoke to me. So I think once you create that relationship on the front side and they trust you, they believe in you, then you can have the hard conversations when we need to. Let's talk about that a little bit.
So, Brian, help. I'm trying to think of like a.
No,
I don't know.
It comes back even to, I think it was John Wooden who talked about it from a coaching perspective, right? Like, your players are never going to give you the role until until they know that you care, right? And I think that's really something that, we try to live every day. It's like, obviously we're going to care for our clients. That's a big passion, but we equally care for our caregivers. We care what's going on in their lives. We care, to help support them. Like we have a recent caregiver who moved down from your part of Texas down to us, and she was living in a hotel. So we're worried, like, is she getting into a house? Does she have the furniture? Like, obviously we're not going out and shopping for her, but just knowing that
Well, your name is Brian and you have bought tires for a client caregiver. So,
caregiver. Yeah. But yeah, we'll go out and we will try to make sure that, a lot of these caregivers are living paycheck to paycheck.
Mhm.
That's their reality. And, how can we get them out of that reality and into seeing that there is something more if they apply themselves, if they keep showing up and putting in the hard work. It's just like, I tell people, it's the same way I've lost 100 pounds in the past, right? It's the same way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Every day, you've just got to keep moving that forward and investing in that relationship, like you said, that dating constantly. And I think that makes the whole difference for them, knowing that you truly do care.
And that comes down to our core values, which I love. It's compassion, accountability, respect, and ethics. So everything that we just said ties back to those. And I think that's why we bought into Dustin and Jared. I actually had one of my old owners send me a message today, and I guess they just watched them on a podcast. I forget which one it was. And they're like, "You're lucky you're part of that system. They seem genuine. There's, something special about what you guys are doing." And
even the fact that they're two males, and I talk about that a lot. I mean, I'm in this industry 50 years. The fact that they're two males is huge. Huge.
Well, and then it was reinforced the first time we got to convention, because we came into the system. We actually delayed our opening to go to convention because we didn't want to open the doors and then be at convention and then leave, right? So, we'll never forget all the amazing owners that we met there, and that was where we knew we were with the right family. Like, this is special.
And that's one more good segue, the diversity we have within this system. And I will say this, coming from my two other systems, again, being an owner and knowing the other owners, the second system I was in and the owners that I help coach, we have such a unique group of owners that all have different backgrounds, and they're brilliant in their own way. And that's what I love about coaching, is not only am I teaching you guys and coaching you guys, I'm learning from you most of the time. You guys are not even aware of it. So let's talk about like what you know about the owners, your peers and the community that we have. So if somebody wanted to buy a franchise, they know what they would be walking into if they chose a place at home.
Well, I mean, it's everything from, the group chats we have, or, even just this past week, we've been talking about this onboarding process and, some of the struggles, and, we wanted to get some opinions from some of the other owners who built, larger agencies so far. And our friend Nalima got on a call with us, and she spent well over an hour just sharing like the things she's doing, how she's doing it, little tips on attitudes, what she tolerates, what she doesn't tolerate. And
little slaps on the hand,
Yeah. But it came from her compassion for knowing what we've been going through, right? And trying to help us, navigate it, because she's figured that part out. And at the same time, she was asking me questions about some of the online marketing, because obviously with 30 years of background in that, I could add value to her. And the fact that, we all respect each other and care about each other to support each other. I know that does not happen in every franchise.
Yeah, we want to grow each other. We want to grow ourselves, but grow each other. And I think that's where, our roots are.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing we tell the caregivers, right? The more, the more you grow and you're dependable and we can count on you. I kind of explain like it's a giant Jenga set. If we know that it's stable, we can keep building on top of it. We all grow, right? The tower gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
The brick house.
Right? But if it's on unstable ground, it's going to fall down. And, whether you're starting at that local office and you're working with the first caregivers, that's what you're looking for them to believe in that growth and know that they're going to be part of it, right? And you're going to support them in that. And then know that it happens at the owner's level as well. And with each of the owners, that's what's so special.
And you have to have confidence in yourself and belief in yourself to be able to instill that in others. So once you have that foundation, that core, and there's some days that it might feel a little bit rocky, but that's when we lean on each other. And that's where the compassion comes in, the ethics, the accountability, all of the things that tie us all together. So I'm so proud of you guys. And I'm going to give you each like a moment to leave us with something. So if you were to tell everybody one thing about who you are, who A Place at Home is, and how we're going to make a difference in the future, what would it be? And I'll start with you, Ryan.
Wow. I have spent the last 30 years helping businesses of all sizes become more customer focused, improve their customer experience, and tell better stories, and become accountable. I founded the Digital Analytics Association because I knew that metrics mattered, but know that there's a long-term focus on building things. And so if you go in with like I told you earlier, the faith-based initiative, that if you focus in on doing the right thing day after day, you don't lose 100 pounds overnight. You lose it 1 pound at a time. And this business is the same way. You impact one client, one shift, 1 hour at a time, one smile at a time.
All right, you just stole my thunder.
No, he just gave you. You just mic dropped, but now you finish, because you know what? I was just thinking the one takeaway I would give everybody is learn from Stacey, be like Stacey, embrace Stacey. And if you don't know Stacey, give her a call, because you should.
Thank you. Yeah, one smile, one heart. That's it. That's all I got.
One smile, one heart. I love it. Straight into the point.
I'll add one more for Stacey. Follow her resources, right? The resources that she's been putting out, Senior Care Expert, especially even this latest one where she's got the self-assessment that families can do when they're seniors.
Yes.
Yes, it's great to have an expert if you have one near you. But in lieu of that, just start getting a sense of where your parents are at. Start getting educated about their needs before it gets too late.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I know we have until 3:30, but I think we've said a lot and said enough, and enough where people can probably go back for the next 15 minutes, take notes, and have some key takeaways from here. But we appreciate it, and our thoughts are out there for everybody right now. I know weather's bad, emergency preparedness, trying to get caregivers to take care of our seniors. California, we're on the opposite end, so we appreciate everyone, and thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.